Hey, welcome back to Hannie Creative. This video is to tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about why I have chosen to make a YouTube channel on creativity. So about 7 years ago, I came down with a really bad illness that was almost virtually unheard of. It took me about a good 5 years to find out what was going on with me and to find a doctor that would actually listen to me. But what some of the main symptoms of that illness was insomnia and depression, deep depression, anxiety, panic attacks, paranoia. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder because of this. And so, I went through this time. I've always been a pretty happy, upbeat person, but when I hit this time, I never felt so just like desperate to be happy. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, I changed my lifestyle, I changed what I ate, I changed how much I exercised, I changed my sleep patterns, I changed just anything I had control over. I was changing in order to find happiness and peace and joy in my life again. And so it was a really difficult 7 years. Well, the breaking point for me was about 3 years ago when I had my little girl. Huge, one of the most extraordinary blessings of my life and one of the greatest miracles, because we've been trying for 9 years to have another baby. But the thing that happened after I had her was I went into, on top of all these symptoms that I'd been experiencing for about 5 years at that point, I went into a really deep postpartum depression on top of it all. And I have never been that low in my life. It was, I was not functioning. Let's just put it like that. And I mean, I couldn't go grocery shopping. That's how bad it was. I could hardly leave my house. And so, up to that point in the extent of this illness, and actually for my whole life, I had used writing as a form of therapy. I wrote, I kept journals, I continue to keep journals, but I had kept them faithfully, daily journals. I had been writing a series for, gosh, the first, 9 years of my son's life. But once I had my daughter, all of that stopped. I was no longer able to write anymore. And it was terrifying. I thought that I would never write again when I was in that place. And so I became very desperate to find something that would do for me what writing had done for me up to that point. I mean, writing had gotten me through my parents' divorce. It was really therapeutic. And so I began kind of going on this journey, and it was kind of like an unconscious decision, but I soon found myself like desperately seeking for something, anything to give me that same kind of relief. And so I started, the thing that I started with is I started learning how to draw, because I'd always wanted to illustrate children's books, but I just never thought that I had any talent in that area. But I began taking classes. I got some books and started learning how to draw, and it was really hard at first. It was kind of frustrating because I was not very literate in art, but I soon started to get the hang of it, and I soon found that not only was it doing what writing had always done for me, but it was doing even more, because it was a different kind of therapy. Writing can often be a really aggravating kind of a thing, but for art was just kind of like this flow that happened, this state of flow, and it was very kind of meditative for me. So I began exploring art more, and then from art it led to just starting to explore almost anything that I could find that was creative. I wrote music, I quilted, I made dolls, I sculpted, I did like just so many things. I made soaps and bath things. I just did so much. I gardened, anything I could do that was creative, that would produce something from my efforts. And so what I began to find was that it didn't matter what I was creating, as long as I was creating something, I got that same relief that writing had always brought to me. And so why I've started this channel is because I feel like there's this epidemic happening in our nation, particularly around young kids who are they're really depressed and they're really anxious, and there's suicide happening more than it probably ever has. And I just feel like this idea of the healing power of creativity is too powerful not to try and share it in any way I can with anybody who might be experiencing in some way what I experienced for those 7 years, and continue to experience, but on a much smaller, much smaller level, or to a much smaller degree. And so that's why I started this channel, is so that I can spread what I've learned and hopefully in some way help someone who is as desperate as I was to find relief from the sadness and the anxiety and depression and just paranoia, whatever it is that you're dealing with, whatever trial you're going through. There is relief in creativity. And the reason why I believe that is because I believe that we are all children of God. And if that is true, which I believe that it is, then as children of God, who is the greatest creator in the universe, it's our divine birthright to be creative and to yearn for that in our lives. And so I feel like if we spend more time being creative, then in a way we're spending more time with Him. And that is the best way I can think of to bring more peace, joy, and happiness into your life. So anyway, whatever you believe, I hope that you will try this out, that you will somehow figure out some way to bring creativity on a more regular basis into your life, and pay attention to what it does. That hopefully you'll find more peace, more joy, more happiness, and be able to better cope with what the world is throwing at you in your life, whatever your personal trial is. So that's what Hannie Clark Creative is all about. It's about finding the healing power of creativity, discovering whatever your creative way is. And there are lots of different kinds of creativity, and that's something that I want to explore and talk to you guys about in future videos. So I hope you will subscribe and become a part of Hannie Clark Creative and this journey to find out and discover the healing power of creativity in your own life. It'll be fun. It's not all going to be serious, so it'll be fun. So anyway, I hope I'll see you around, and we'll talk to you guys next time.